$1 million, the number everyone's chasing, the number your parents told you meant you'd be set for life. Here's the problem. In 2026, $1 million can either last you forever or run out by age 74. Same amount, completely different outcomes. The difference comes down to 3 decisions, and most people get all 3 of them wrong. I'm Mint, and I'm going to show you the exact math that separates the $1 million retiree who sleeps fine at night from the one who's back on Indeed at 71. Let's start with the thing nobody says out loud. $1 million doesn't retire you. Your burn rate retires you. That's the number that actually matters. Your burn rate is just what you spend every year to keep your life running. Rent or mortgage, food, insurance, car, travel, whatever your version of normal looks like. Most people have no idea what their actual burn rate is. They know their income. They don't know their spend. And that gap right there is where retirement plans quietly die. Here's the baseline rule I want you to lock in. If you want your money to last roughly 30 years without running dry, you can safely withdraw about 4% per year from a diversified portfolio. That's it. That's the whole math in one sentence. On $1 million, 4% is $40,000 a year. That's your starting number, $40,000. Write it down because every decision in this video either keeps you above that line or drags you under it. If you want more of this kind of math, the calm, no panic version, subscribe. I'm Mint, and that's what this channel is built for. Now, $40,000 a year sounds like a number, but let's make it real. That's $3,333 a month. Before taxes, in a lot of American cities, that doesn't stretch far. In a low cost of living state, it actually works. In San Diego, or Boston, or Seattle, you're already nervous. And this is before we talk about what inflation does to that number over a 25-year retirement, which we will. But first, 2 people, same $1 million, completely different outcomes. Meet person A. She's 62, just retired in Tennessee. Her mortgage is paid off. Her monthly burn rate is $3,100. Utilities, groceries, a car payment, health insurance, and a modest travel budget. She's pulling $37,200 a year from her portfolio. That's just under 4%. Her Social Security kicks in at 67. So for 5 years, she's running solo on the portfolio. But at 67, she adds $1,800 a month in Social Security income. Now she only needs $16,200 a year from her investments. Her portfolio isn't shrinking anymore. It's barely being touched. At that point, her $1 million could realistically last into her 90s. She sleeps fine. Now meet person B. Same age, same million. But he's got a $2,400 a month mortgage, 2 car payments, a $600 health insurance premium, and a lifestyle that costs him $5,800 a month, $69,600 a year. He's pulling 6.9% annually. The 4% rule doesn't even apply to him anymore. At that rate, accounting for market fluctuations and inflation, his million runs out somewhere between age 72 and 76. He doesn't know this yet. He thinks he's fine. He's not fine. That's the gap between sleeping well and updating your LinkedIn. Here's the part that trips people up. The problem isn't usually the big stuff. It's not the house. It's what I call the silent killers. The expenses that feel small and are actually massive when you multiply them across 25 years of retirement. A $600 car payment, held for the first 8 years of retirement, costs you about $57,600 in raw spending. But if that money had stayed invested at a modest 6% return, you've given up over $90,000 in growth. One car payment. That's not a car. That's a chunk of your runway. And that brings us to the 3 levers. These are the only 3 things that actually change how long your money lasts: spending, growth rate, and income. You pull one lever, the whole picture shifts. Most people only think about the growth rate. I just need better returns. But that's the lever you have the least control over. The other 2, those are yours. Lever 1 is spending, your burn rate. Every $500 you permanently remove from your monthly expenses adds roughly $150,000 to your safe withdrawal capacity. Think about that. Not saving $500, cutting $500 from your monthly burn. That's the math. If you're at $5,000 a month and you get to $4,500, you've effectively added 6 figures to your retirement resilience. No market timing required. In a second, I'll show you what happens when you combine all 3 levers at once. But stick with me here, because lever 2 changes the math in a way most people don't expect. Lever 2 is growth rate, what your portfolio actually earns after fees and inflation. This is where the difference between 5% and 7% sounds small, and is absolutely not. At 5% average growth, $1 million supporting a $50,000 annual withdrawal runs out around year 27. At 7%, it lasts past year 35. That's 8 extra years from 2 percentage points, which means your expense ratio, your fund choices, and whether you're in a high-fee product actually matter. A 1% annual fee on a $1 million portfolio is $10,000 a year, not in $1990, right now. Every year, that fee is a second car payment you forgot you were making. Lever 3 is income, specifically what income you can layer on top of your portfolio without relying on it. Social Security is the obvious one. If you wait until 70 to claim instead of 62, your monthly benefit can be almost double. That sounds like a retirement planning brochure line. Let me make it concrete. At 62, you might collect $1,400 a month. At 70, that same benefit could be $2,500. Over a 20-year retirement, the 70 claimant pulls in roughly $264,000 more from Social Security. That's not Mint's opinion. That's just arithmetic. The catch is, you need your portfolio to cover the gap between 62 and 70 without burning down the house, which brings us back to burn rate. It always comes back to burn rate. Here's the trap I see constantly. People plan for retirement income, and they forget to plan for retirement spending. They think, I'll spend less when I retire. Sometimes that's true. And sometimes people retire and discover they have 40 more free hours a week, and somehow that's more expensive than working was. Travel goes up, hobbies cost money, the grandkids need things. Nobody budgets for joy. You should. Because an unplanned lifestyle creep of just $400 a month in early retirement can shorten your runway by 4 to 6 years. A week of vacation you didn't count is fine. A permanent new lifestyle floor that you never stress tested is the quiet retirement killer. So here's the Mint move, the 3-step sequence that actually changes your outcome. First, calculate your real burn rate before you retire. Not an estimate, not a round number. Pull your last 12 months of bank and credit card statements. Add it up, divide by 12. That's your number. Most people are surprised. Some are embarrassed. Either way, you need to know it before you make any other decision. Second, run the gap. Take your annual burn rate, subtract every guaranteed income source you'll have, Social Security, pension, rental income, whatever's real, and whatever's left is what your portfolio has to cover each year. Divide that number by your portfolio value. If it's above 5%, you've got work to do before you retire. If it's below 4%, you're probably in good shape. Third, pick one lever and move it before you stop working. You don't need to move all three. Moving one lever meaningfully, cutting one big expense, eliminating a fee-heavy fund, delaying Social Security by 2 years, changes your math more than almost any other single move. You don't need a perfect plan. You need one good lever pull. Here's what we covered. $1 million is not a retirement. A burn rate is. The 4% rule gives you $40,000 a year. That's your baseline. And everything either holds you above it or pulls you under. The 3 levers are spending, growth, and income. You don't need all 3. You need to know which one you can actually move. And the difference between retiring comfortably and running out at 74 isn't bad luck. It's usually one number nobody calculated. If this hit differently than you expected, the next video to watch is how Social Security timing actually works in the real math. Not the theory, the actual numbers by age. It connects directly to everything we just covered, and it'll show you the one delay decision that might be worth more than 5 years of extra savings. I'm Mint,